Hey, we're so glad you found us. This is A Juicy Pear Podcast with Shawn and Wendy. I'm your host, Wendy.
And I'm your host, Shawn.
And we want to share with you some storytelling that leaves you feeling entertained, inspired, and puts a smile on your face.
And we are truly hoping to be able to talk about relatable topics, especially in this world of craziness.
So sit back and enjoy the conversation. Stay tuned. Hey, Shawn, how you doing?
Great, Wendy.
Okay, so this is our very first episode.
It is.
It's exciting.
So glad and so happy and thankful.
I love it. Well, I guess we should get right into it, right?
Yep.
Okay,
So, friends, today the topic that we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about all about Wendy today, you guys. And this is really going to be a lot of fun. For those of you that don't know, Wendy is an author, a wife, a mother. She is a wonderful friend, a very hard worker.
Oh, thank you.
And so, but today, my friends, we're going to talk about how Wendy has created a wonderful book. So, friends, the book that Wendy has authored so far, her first one in the series, is called A Gray Resort. And so today we're going to do a little bit of question and answers about how she came about being the wonderful author that she is, and how A Gray Resort came about, and the exciting news that she has in her future plans. So, Wendy, thank you so much for talking about A Gray Resort today.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
As your friend, I'm certainly excited for you. I am so thankful that you have these fantastic opportunities coming up. And so I hope that our listeners today will enjoy this conversation about your wonderful book. And then everybody, you do have to go out and purchase this book because it's a great read. I've read it myself. It's very entertaining, and I'm super, super proud of my friend. So, Wendy, I want to talk about this. You've had a love for writing all your life, I assume?
Yes, I've always liked to write. Writing was quite an escape for me. I did have a lot of opportunities growing up as far as I grew up on the summer resort. My parents owned this resort. They bought it from my grandparents. It was a great place to grow up on, a great place to live. We had several cabins. It was on a lake. We had a pool. And we just had an opportunity to meet all these kinds of people every week during the summertime. My sister and I, it was just her and I. And it was just kind of an amazing experience. But I always liked to write. I wrote a lot when I was younger. I've always liked to express my feelings on paper because I feel like I do that better. But I did a lot more poetry when I was younger. It was more poems and stuff like that, and short stories. But yeah.
That's so great. That's so great. So what about, I think that you have a true gift for words, Wendy.
Oh, thank you.
Yep. So, and what you say in your book and in general, a lot of the words are so eloquent. It's a great read. So it's just a great book that you have. So tell us, so the book, A Gray Resort, takes place happening in Wisconsin.
Yes.
And I know, Wendy, that you grew up in Wisconsin. So tell me about growing up in Wisconsin.
Yeah, so it was a small town up in northern Wisconsin. It's I would say about 4 hours north of Milwaukee. And it's about 4,000 people, hardworking people, nice people.
What city is it called?
Tomahawk.
Tomahawk.
But I changed the name of the city. I changed it to Neilsville in the book. But it was a great place to grow up. It was just a lot of fun. I have a lot of fond memories on that resort. I learned a lot about people. Mm-hmm. And it was just a very unique time, too. It was during the 70s and 80s. And it was just a great time to grow up, I think. And I think you feel that way as well, because life is so, it's so much different now, isn't it?
Right, more complicated, it seems.
Yep. And there just seems to be a lot more rules and just a lot more steps to get to a basic thing. You have to do so many things, and it was a simpler time. And sometimes I long for that,
Yeah, sure.
But this was years in the making. This wasn't something that, I kind of spit out in 3 or 4 months' time. This was a book that I had in mind that I really, really thought, okay, I need to do something about this book. There was a lot of interesting things that happened, too, on the resort. And there was also a tree farm across the street from where we lived. My parents had a good amount of property out in the woods, which was fantastic, by the way, growing up, being able to, just explore and pick berries. And I think we saw like a bear one time and just deer. It was just it was a cool time. But there was sort of a lot of strange things that happened as well. Kind of like, I want to say more like supernatural stuff.
Yes.
So
now the title, A Gray Resort, what led you to title it with having the word gray?
Yeah, well, of course it's not the same name as the actual resort, so you can't, I was like, I don't want to get into problems with that, so I wanted to change that. I used a gray resort because I think gray kind of reflects the mood a little bit, and the mood in this book is like something is coming. It's not all sunshine and flowers and puppy dogs. There is something coming here. And I thought, the gray resort. And I'm like, no, a gray resort. It just seemed clean. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go with that.
Gotcha. So good. That's fantastic. All right. So tell us a little bit about the premise then of your book.
Okay. So a girl goes fishing. She's a teenager. She's a little awkward, she loves to fish, so she goes fishing, and when she goes fishing, she sees something that's a little strange, So without giving too much away, she hears some noises across the lake, and she's like, oh, that's a little strange, and it turns out she meets something, and it changes the course of her life forever. Changes the course of how everything's going in the town, and it kind of makes nicely how I have the series in the book, so I kind of go into that more. But yeah, so the town of Neilsville has some things going on in it that not everyone knows about, but Brooke, the teenager who's fishing, she's a little, she knows things, she's got a little bit of a sixth sense, so she kind of can feel some things that are going on. And it starts when she is fishing on that summer night.
I have to say, after I read the book, Wendy, I came to you immediately and told you that I truly believed this. If you really loved anything about the Twilight series,
yes,
that I felt A Gray Resort is not exactly a Twilight type of movie with the vampire feel, but this is a whole paranormal feel, and that it was extremely, extremely entertaining. So I want to know, Wendy, did you feel any kind of sixth sense, paranormal activity, even as a teen, as a young adult?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I guess I could say this, like the start of the book, there are some things that are in the book that are true that actually happened to me, and I thought, you know what, that would be cool to add in the book. Without getting into all the details about my grandmother, so that's true. There was just some interesting things that happened. I'm trying to think. Okay, so my mom has a sixth sense, a big time sixth sense. She's had some things that happened to her on the resort, and I would see it, and I was like, oh, that's strange. Just little things. This happens, my sister and I, well, we first lived in this other house before we moved to the resort, and this is before even we moved on the resort, but it was on the same, we actually lived on this, it's called Horseshoe Lane, but I changed the name.
Okay.
But it was like a big horseshoe road, and it was like 4 miles. So we lived on this house. It was in the wintertime. And my mom, so my sister and I were just sledding, right? We were up on the hill. We had this big hill in the backyard of our house. So right before I was going to push my sister, she was on a sled, and I was getting ready to push her. And right before I did that, my mom steps out and says, don't push your sister, because if you do, the sled is going to turn left, and she's going to hit a little tree on on the left side down there at the bottom, and she's going to get a nosebleed. And I was way at the top middle, and there was no way it was going to turn left. It was weird. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, Mom, that's cool. But we're going to, we're having fun. And she's like, okay, yeah, whatever. So she goes back in, and, my sister's like, come on, let's go. So I push my sister. So guess what happens? She's going down the hill. And it was so strange because she was sliding down the hill. And then at the last second, the sled makes a hard left.
Okay.
There's like a little tree, not a big tree, just like this little tree with like little, no leaves on it. It was dead, but it had like this little branch. The branch went up her nose. She had a nosebleed. I'm like,
yep. So your mom totally suspected that with her sense.
She knew it right before it happened, and she did that a couple times. I'm like, okay, that's strange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I know. There was another thing too. We had something with trees. I love trees, by the way. Trees are kind of central to the book too.
okay, right.
There was a tree, and I think it was next to cabin 7. So we had 8 cabins. So there's this big, hulking, looming tree, and it did look creepy. It got hit by lightning many, many times.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah. This part's in the book, I believe. Yeah, it is. So one night there was a storm, and the lightning hit the tree, and there was a guest of ours staying on the porch, sound asleep. He had a sweatshirt on. There was a lightning streak that went on the couch that he was laying on. It made like a zigzag streak on his sweatshirt.
Did it?
And he didn't get hurt or anything, but my mom wrote a check out so he could get a new sweatshirt and said it was an act of God. But I thought that was strange. And that tree got hit by lightning many times.
Really?
Many times. Yeah. You could see I was like, okay, maybe we should say that before people go in cabin 7. Watch out for that tree.
Sure.
If there's a storm, you guys want to pack out and go somewhere else. I don't know. But yeah.
Any part of that tree that's in the book? It is in the book?
That is in the book. Yeah.
You have to read it. It's so good.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome. So your book then, Wendy, is available for purchase, and I think it's very important and very great if people would go out and purchase your book and take the time to read it. It's really, really, really a good read. Where can we find your book for purchase, Wendy?
Well, you're very sweet. It's available on Amazon. Gray Resort, just type that in. It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble. It's at Target.com and Book Baby Bookshop. All places really that sell books. My book should be there. So. Yeah.
And I know recently, Wendy, you were granted an award. Tell us a little bit about your award for your book. Yeah,
so over the summer, a few months ago, I was notified by the American Fiction Awards. So there's many categories, but I won the category for Best Romance Paranormal Book for 2020. So that was so exciting. I know. I was so excited about that. So, yeah, I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah, I'm super proud of you, too. That's the best
thing.
That's the best thing. Okay, second book. So, A Gray Resort is it's a really great read. So your second book has been now whirling and twirling in your head.
Yes.
And you've been able to put it on paper.
Yes.
Can you give us a little bit of a little snapshot, a little bit of a teaser?
Yeah.
For your second book that's in creation right now.
Well, I'm so excited. With this pandemic that's been going on, a lot of bads happened from that, of course. But, there's been a lot of opportunities, too, that otherwise wouldn't be. So I took advantage of that time. I was working from home, and, I had that time. So I was able to finish the second book a lot sooner than I probably would have. So I'm so excited to share that. So there's a lot of the main characters are back. Cassie is my favorite character in that book. So of course she's back in the second book. I'm very excited to introduce a couple new characters in the book. Now some of these characters are completely fiction. Poof, it just came out of my mind. And there are a couple that I actually know, and just changed names. So I'm very excited to get that out, and I think it went really nicely. I think it just flows very nicely in the second book. And I think it's going to be one of these books, too, where you don't necessarily have to read them. The first one, I'm going to kind of make it where you'll be able to pick up. I mean, it'll be nice, of course, but you'll be able to pick up, like this new book. I don't want to say the title yet.
Okay, we can't say the title yet. Okay.
But, but it's coming out soon. I would have liked to have had it by the end of this year, but because of what's going on, you can't really have book signings. You can't hear each other with a mask on.
Yeah.
So I'm going to kind of wait. I'm hoping to have it late spring or I'm not sure.
Okay.
Or early summer possibly.
Yep, but it's completely in development, which is good.
Yes, it has to go through a series of edits, and I have to do a graphic design for the cover and all that. But yeah, the basic nuts and bolts of it are pretty much done.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
I love it. I also know that you have some fantastic opportunities coming up with A Gray Resort itself. Can you even dive into that a little bit for us? Tease us a little bit about that information.
Absolutely. So, without saying too much, I will say that there is a production company that came to me, and so they're currently working on a book trailer for A Gray Resort, and I'm very excited. I don't want to name names right now, because it's an early development, but early this morning I was emailing them storyboard ideas and who I wanted to do voiceover and just different creative things for it. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I'm so excited about that. I'm so excited. So that trailer should be done in the next, I don't know how long it takes to do book trailers because I've never, had that before, but I would say in the next couple months. And once that book trailer comes out, then other things are on the pipeline, other huge things. And I'm so excited. And I just kind of I wish I could say more, but for now I can't, but I will.
That's okay, Wendy. That's so good. But I'm so, so proud of you. So, Wendy, thank you so much for talking about A Gray Resort. And again, friends, go out and Amazon, Target, Barnes & Nobles, our basic places to go, even online, and order up A Gray Resort. And Wendy, her first name is spelled Wendy. Her last name is Kok. So as you're searching out the book and trying to finding A Gray Resort to purchase,
yes,
then you know exactly how to spell her name.
Yeah, and it's Coke pronounced like the soda, but
like
not spelled like one.
It's so good.
But you're a sweetheart. Thank you
good.
So much. I appreciate that so much. And if you guys also want to check out my website, wendymcokeauthor.com, I would appreciate it. And friends, if you want to subscribe to our channel, A Juicy Pear Podcast with Shawn and Wendy, thank you so much, friend.
Yes,
I love you.
Thank you, Wendy.
Right.
I love you too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening.
We're so glad you're here. We had so much fun, didn't we, Shawn?
Yes, I totally hope, everybody, that you enjoyed our episode. So please subscribe to our website, ajuicypearpodcast.com.
Yes. See you there.